All right, welcome back to another episode of Off the Couch podcast. It's good to be back. Today's guest, we have a very special guest. We have Coach Sarah Boothe.
Hi.
She's been on our podcast before.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, I forgot what we talked about last time, but it was
We talked about juggling,
oh
getting
yeah,
in the gym
yeah.
with life.
Yeah, having a
Yeah.
busy schedule and
Yes.
stuff, and you make it happen.
I
That's awesome.
try.
Yeah, how's the busy schedule been going?
It's gotten really busy for a while, but we've made some changes, kind of reevaluated like how life's going, and made some changes to back off of some of the things that aren't important
Got you.
to start optimizing some of the other stuff. So
Prioritizing.
yes, reprioritizing. That's a
what
better
that's
word.
what I need to do.
That's
Shoot.
it's not easy.
No, it's easier
So,
said than done.
it's
It's
scary.
doable, but
Yeah.
it's hot here in the gym, so I got my little sweat towel. Yeah, so you have 3 kids, and are they all in sports?
Well, Becca's only 3, but
Okay.
well, she is in sports though. She plays t-ball and soccer and
Yeah.
dances. So
that counts.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know how parents do it in general, because like I'm a parent now, and my son's like a little over a year and a half, and he's already we're already taking him to swim like 4 days a
Yeah.
week.
Oh yeah. Well, it's swim lessons too.
Like,
Oh
asking
my
my
gosh,
wife,
forgot
like,
about
does he
those.
have to go every day? Like, well, they get more comfortable that way. I was just like, fuck. I was like, I want him to go every day, but then it's like, taking him every day is like
Yeah.
a whole nother story.
Well, and then it's also like Lucas is starting to get to the age where not only does he need to go to practice, 2-3 times a week, depending on the sport and the season, but also he needs to be in here doing footwork and weightlifting as well to make sure he doesn't get injured. So it's like, it's just, it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, I'm sure as
Calendars.
they get older. Maybe once
It's all
they
about
learn
calendar.
to drive, maybe.
Maybe I'm waiting.
But like, I've heard from other parents that it's like maybe you're not driving around as much, but now it's more stressful because you're worried about them out there driving on their own
yes, yeah.
with other people on the road, all that stuff. So
Still have 6 years before we get there, at least for Lucas. But
it's never ending. But
you're always worrying about something.
so long story short, you're still pretty dang busy.
Yeah,
And you still come to the gym.
I try as best I can. Yeah,
Hey,
at least 4
there you
days
go.
a week minimum.
There you go. Hey,
yeah,
that's good. 4 or 5 days a week, you're doing great.
yeah,
So,
working
good.
on it.
Heck yeah. So Sarah and I we have an interesting topic to talk about today, specifically recovering from injury. Unfortunately for her and I, we have a lot of experience with this. And so we're just going to kind of talk about it.
It's a unique experience.
Yeah, maybe talk about our experience and what it's like to, be an athlete recovering from injury, and what it's like, mentally, physically recovering from an injury, all that stuff. And like maybe the best practices or success stories or all of the above. I don't know. So if you're someone that's ever recovered from injury, if you've maybe haven't fully recovered, if you just got injured, maybe you've never been injured, but you're curious,
Mhm.
we're gonna give you all the information you need, because we have a lot. So
we've been through it a few times.
Before we dive into the recovery aspect and kind of what that takes and stuff, let's just give a little list, I suppose, of maybe some of the bigger injuries that we've had. We'll let you go first. I'd say
God.
something that's required either some type of surgical intervention or like you've had to take a step back from activity. So maybe it wasn't just surgery, but it's like you're like, I had to stop working out or working out at intensity for 3 to 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So you can go first. Go ahead.
Go first.
Ladies
Okay.
first.
Well, let's see. I mean, I've had a number of surgeries that were pre-CrossFit, being as active as I am. So I'm not going to focus on those, but the ones really since CrossFit, let's see, I've had a couple wrist surgeries, one on each hand. I've had that have kept me out. I've had at least, I've had 3 ankle surgeries, a shoulder surgery. That's all I've had since starting CrossFit. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, but that's still that was like 5 right there that you just mentioned.
Yeah, at least, yeah. So, and it's frustrating because it seems to always happen I feel like when you're making the most gains, or when you're finally getting progress, or you're finally like you feel comfortable, things are going well, and then all of a sudden you're like,
it's almost like jinxing yourself. You're like, everything's going great, and then like the next week, blah. Like, oh, there we go.
Oh, my arm's just kind of hanging here. What's going on?
You don't need your arm, right?
No, you don't need your arm. Yeah,
you'll be fine. Okay, so you've had 5 surgeries, and then maybe a couple that didn't need surgery. I know, like maybe you broke your ankle recently.
Oh, I broke my foot too recently. I forgot about that one.
And then,
that was the most recent one.
Yeah, and then did you break your ankle or sprain your ankle? Was it like you tripped down the stairs or tripped over?
I avulsed my ankle. I have most of the ligaments in my ankle. Yes, carrying my son down the stairs. Watch when you're going down the stairs.
Bro,
Rolled my ankle, and
stairs are crazy.
Stairs are not fun. Yeah, and that ended up leading to actually 2 surgeries and potentially a third one now. But it led to 2 separate surgeries, that injury did, unfortunately. Wow. So it just created a lot of instability, and unfortunately it resulted in them having to tighten my ankle up a lot more than I would like. So now it's been 3 years, but it's still trying to live with it. And I think I'm still recovering from it sometimes because it's still not the same, but
sometimes it takes a while, or sometimes it might never feel the same. I don't know.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to figure that out right now. Like, is there really a third problem here that we didn't get taken care of? Or is it, is it that it's just, this is the way it's going to be?
Yeah.
So,
and I think my thing with that is like, as long as you keep working on it, like you never know, like maybe it will never feel the same, or maybe, like with some of mine, which we'll kind of get into, it's like, I'm in the mindset of like, it doesn't feel the same right now, but I'm going to keep working on it. And, maybe we can get it to feel the same or better. We'll see, but like, I'm not going to stop working on it until it's something that like, I just don't notice or don't think about. And right now with certain injuries I'm recovering from, I still think about it a lot. And so it's like, until I stop thinking about it and it's just natural movement, like I'm going to keep focusing on it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, that's the way I am with anything ever since my last surgery with my ankle, it's still things like I don't squat with tennis shoes because I have to feel the mechanics of my feet to make sure that I'm not collapsing. And I have to be really aware of a lot of these things, whether it's a deadlift or a squat clean or a front squat, it doesn't matter. I'm still at this point where because I still think about it, because I'm still recovering, even though it's been 3 years, that I have to be very in tune with my mechanics.
Yeah.
So
I would say that's almost a plus side to like recovering from injury, which like there are multiple plus sides to recovering from injury. And that's one of them is like, that I've experienced is you will focus on movement a lot more, and not just movement, but like quality of movement. And especially if you're seeing, physical therapists or something, you either identify things that you didn't know were an issue, or you're really focusing on like, hey, we're really trying to do this to make sure that we don't re-injure or something like that, or to reinforce this joint or this ligament or this muscle. So we don't have to worry about like re-injuring it or anything like that.
And you become super in tune with when you're compensating. Like, for instance, with my right shoulder, I started having a lot of issues with my elbow because I was compensating in other parts of my arm while I was trying to rehab. And, you're like, that doesn't feel good. And I feel like you start making adjustments a lot sooner to stay healthy and make sure quality is there over intensity and quantity.
Absolutely. So. And that's like something that I think about with like injury. Like the more you deal with it, the more I guess you become better at it. Which is like not something to be proud of, I would say, but like, who knows?
But it gives you a unique skill set, right? Like, so when we have
start to be more conscious of compensation, because it's like, well, that could lead to another injury. And then before you know it, it's like the lady that swallowed the fly. That's like, well, it was my ankle, but now my back hurts because I've been walking weird or I've been compensating or whatever. Yes. So you get more conscious of all that stuff. Yeah. It's like, I feel like recovering from injuries, like anything in life, like it's a skill. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And unfortunately, we have a little bit of experience. So you have those 5 surgeries, a couple other things that have happened. Yep. And then me personally, it's like, I grew up skateboarding, snowboarding, and I've broken like 6 bones skateboarding. I broke both my wrists, my ankle. My bone came out of my skin one time.
You're not making me want to let Owen skateboard. He loves to skateboard.
It's super fun. It's like a great sport. And, if they get into it, and here's a little segue, an example of this is like everyone's different, and falling is a skill. And so like I would really focus on making sure that he knows how to fall, because falling is absolutely a skill when it comes to any sport, especially skateboarding, snowboarding. I play ice hockey too. And if you know how to fall, you're just reducing your risk of injury a lot. When people get injured when they fall, it's usually because they're fighting the fall and like bracing too hard. And that's when, you get a lot of force on an extended arm or something. It's not going to like that. So like learning how to fall, but skateboarding, or sorry, what I was getting at is like, so there's 2 really good skateboarders. One's Nyjah Houston, the other's Ryan Sheckler. And they both are like world class. They've won like championships, X Games, whatever. And so Nyjah has like never broken a bone. And he's like one of the best skateboarders in the world. And he's had some of the craziest falls I've ever seen.
That's insane.
He's like sprains his like ankle or something, his wrists. But as far as I know, till this date, he hasn't broken anything like major. But then on the other side of that, you have Ryan Sheckler, who's broken quite a bit of bones. And he's a professional skateboarder. And they both are at the highest level. And so like unfortunately think either the way people are made, their body mechanics, genetics, I don't know if that has anything to do, maybe bone density, I'm sure, or just, I think, what I really think it is Nigel's just better at falling.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's like falling is absolutely a skill. And it's like the old saying Tiger Woods had, where it's like, oh, he's so good, he just doesn't miss, blah, blah, blah. And then when they asked him about that, like, you just like never miss. And he's like, that's not true. I miss all the time. He's like, the difference is my misses are just better than other people's misses. And he's like, oh, okay. So he's just better at screwing. You're better at screwing up is essentially what's happening there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've broken multiple bones skateboarding, both wrists, both ankles. I cracked my tailbone, probably the most painful thing I've ever done.
Ow, yeah.
And then I got into snowboarding, tore a ligament in my wrist, tore a ligament in my shoulder, 2 ligaments in my shoulder. I had a concussion and I bit through my lip snowboarding. And then I've messed up my back, had surgery on my back. And more recently, I ruptured my Achilles and had surgery on that. And then I also had knee surgery about 3 months ago.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was supposed to be easy, but maybe we'll dive into those. So let's talk about like the first surgery you ever had. Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, I was 15, and it was a rotator cuff and labral repair.
On the shoulder.
Yes, I was a softball pitcher, and pitching, I tore the heck out of my shoulder. You know, you're talking, this would have been 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. And the thought process back then was that women don't lift, especially if you're a fast pitch pitcher, right? Because you want the flexibility. Yeah. You're going to get, it's like a rubber band. Like the more flexibility you have, the better you're going to be. And all muscle mass is going to do is deter that. It's going to tighten it up. That was the thought process 20 years ago.
It's so crazy. It's like, why would you reinforce the joint by making it stronger? Instead, let's keep it loose.
It was like, if you're going to lift weights, it's light weights at really high reps in your upper body. So it was a very different thought process. We weren't building for strength. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Let's make the muscles bigger, but not as strong.
But not strong. So I tore my shoulder up. I had a really loose shoulder joint, dislocated it a few times pitching, ended up with a labral tear and a rotator cuff tear as well. So that would have been the first.
You had to take some, obviously, with like your first major injury maybe, and you had to take time off your sport.
Yeah, that was awful.
Do you remember,
especially at 15?
Like mentally, kind of like A, how long did you have to take off?
Oh God.
B, like how was it mentally for you? Maybe like the process, like, you know, you don't have to go into too much detail, but like, you know, starting, how was it the first few weeks and, you know, kind of after that?
I mean, I was in high school, so it's like that very first surgery was, it was debilitating to me, like mentally, because I was a starting pitcher at that point. And, you know, they were very clear that like, they were like, you know, fast pitch is so much more natural for your shoulder. You shouldn't be having these kind of issues. Hey, and by the way, you need this, but your shoulder's probably never going to be the same. You're probably never going to be able to throw the same again. So at 15, you know, you're going into varsity athletics. And at that point, my goal was to play college softball and to pitch. And at 15, I basically was told, yeah, probably not going to happen. And I ended up seeing that. Like I ended up going from a starting pitcher to like not being able to, really not pitching much hardly at all for the rest of my high school career. I was still pitching, but not a lot. I did a lot more field time instead. So at 15, I was in high school and all of this fun stuff. And it was a blow because I couldn't, you know, I'm sitting there cheering my team on. I can't play. At 15, you don't know how to recover from that. Like you don't know how to handle that. So it was tough. It was very depressing. It was at least a year before I pitched again. It was probably 3 to 4 months before I threw again. But yeah, it was.
And I think that's something that like, I feel like a lot of doctors and professionals maybe don't prepare you for. That is probably, in my opinion, one of the hardest parts is the mental aspect of recovery, especially if you're someone that likes to move, likes to play sports. And that's kind of a big part of your life. Like it's like going from 100 to 0, like in the, it's this mental battle of like having an identity crisis, but then like not knowing what to do. Yeah. And, you know, kind of the unknown of like, is this like am I ever going to be able to do this again? Like, is it going to recover? Like
it's being frustrated, like, especially when you do it all over and over, it's like, oh my God. Like I said, it always seems to happen when you finally feel like you're getting back to where you want to be, or you're getting these gains that you've never seen. And all of a sudden something happens and you're like, are you flipping kidding me? Now It's the thought process of feeling like you're starting over
Yeah.
again. And the first couple times, especially in here, that happened for me, it was, I didn't know how, I was not in a good place with it.
Mhm.
And after the first couple times, you realize, you go through it, you realize you can get back, and you can actually get back better than you were before if you do it the right way. It was great, but it's, you know, it's having to take a step back and thinking about, like, why did this happen? Oh, it's probably poor mechanics. Probably did something that I probably shouldn't have done, or, you know, that kind of thing. So reevaluating your mechanics, but also just the recovery process you have to look at, and you have to be okay with, like, okay, I'm not getting an RX sticker for a while, but who cares? I'm moving my body.
Yeah.
Like, maybe my workout doesn't look the same as everybody else's, but I'm here and I'm moving, which is still 1% better.
Yep.
1% better every day adds up. So it's,
yeah, it's crazy. Like recovering from injury, it really, it does a lot to you mentally, physically, but like what you're saying, if you stay like tenacious with it, and if you're kind of determined to like, I'm going to do the recovery, and I'm just going to do all my PT exercises, and I'm just going to see how good I can get this feeling. It's crazy that I would say most of the time it's going to feel better or the same, if not better.
Yeah.
And like, I've had that with most of my recoveries so far.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, your shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, how did it recover?
I mean, my shoulder's recovering pretty well. It's different. I'm still getting used to it because there's still things like I just kipped for the first time since December.
Yeah.
Well, probably.
Sorry, I was referring like when you first messed it up when you were 15.
Like, my shoulder, that one. That was my other, I forgot that was my shoulder. No, my shoulder feels.
Do you feel like you had 100% recovery with that joint?
I think I did, because I did it the right way. Because I did PT, you know, granted I was 15, so it was a lot of like, well, Dad says I have to go to PT. So it was guided a lot, but you know, I know it was kind of frustrating, but we did it. But I also at the same time was like, well, they said I'm not gonna be able to pitch well again. I'm gonna prove them wrong kind of thing too. So I had a little bit of that stubbornness. But I will say this, like my right shoulder is stronger, better. It's more, the structure is, I'm have much more stability in my right shoulder than I ever have had in my left.
What do you think is the reason for that?
I had to take the time to, I mean, I think it's a lot of things. I had to take the time.
Because it's like, you know, it's a shoulder you had surgery on, and it's like, you know, that type of repair, it's not a small procedure. And then there's a lot of recovery that goes into that, working on range of motion and stuff. And like, now it feels better than the other one. Yeah,
I think a lot of it was, it was perseverance. That's a big stubbornness. One. It was like, no, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to build this back. It was taking a step back, looking at all of my mechanics, because clearly I was doing something wrong to cause the injury in the first place. Rebuilding my shoulder with mechanics, with strength, doing more weight-based training, built my shoulder back, and I think, and patience too. Yeah. Not trying to skip steps. Like if you skip, I've done it before. If you skip steps, you're just going to end up backwards.
You see
you're going to end up 3 steps back. A lot in sports
where athletes will come back really fast, and sometimes they're all right, but sometimes they get re-injured, and usually it's because, you know, they're kind of maybe skipping steps. And I forget who it was. It was a CrossFitter. They had an Achilles injury, and then they came back pretty quick. I think it was Gabriella Magala, maybe, or someone. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. And then literally like 4 months later or something, she ruptured it again. And it was just like, fudge. And you know, I have experience with that. My Achilles in 4-ish months to be trying to move again at maybe a certain level, it's like, that's too much. Yeah. And so like, that just sucks. We don't want that to happen to anyone, but that's what you see is like, usually when we see people that don't recover 100% from surgery, it's because we either didn't do all of our PT, or we weren't diligent about it, or we tried to skip steps. Yeah. And like, when you see that happen, that's usually when it's like, okay, like, you know, the joint has just been wonky ever since. And it's like, that was 8 years ago. And it's like, well, how was your PT recovery? And they talk, oh, you just didn't do all of it. Yeah. Right. And it's like, you know, it takes a ton of patience and perseverance and mental battles of frustration, depression, fighting with yourself, fighting with your spouses. Like, I think something that isn't talked about enough with recovery is the people that are helping you recover. And man, my wife deserves a trophy.
And so does my husband. God knows.
Because, you know, when you have ligament or joints or appendages that don't work, you don't realize what you take for granted. Like, you know, when your arm doesn't work, like putting on long socks is like not a thing, or like tying your shoes, or washing like that side of your body or something. And so it's like, unfortunately, we just need help.
when you have a broken
or
foot,
like,
getting in and out of a shower,
oh my
or
God.
after ankle surgery, like just trying to get in and out of the shower is like, I can't do that without assistance.
And
like,
somebody's got to help. So
yep.
for me, a lot of the time it was my wife. So like, she deserves an award. Thank you so much. I love you, Danielle. And this most recent one, I think she wanted to kill me because, you know, she's going through it at the same time as I am, because, you know, we share a bed and I'm over there awake or can't sleep and I'm in pain and I need help. I need ice. And, you know, she's getting it for me. And I think after about a month of that, she was just like, we kind of got at each other. Nothing crazy, but it's like just the lack of sleep, the frustration, the anxiety, it just builds up and it takes a toll on both people.
Yeah.
And then you add kids into the mix and it's
oh my gosh. Yeah.
And then like, not only are they having to do more of it, then you feel terrible as the person that's like, I can't help out as much as normal. And like,
yeah,
I wish I could. And I feel like I'm just not doing great.
That's, well, I mean, that's exactly the same. I mean, with us, it was the same way. Like my last shoulder surgery, you know, back in December, you know, Mike was filling up my ice machine twice a night. You know, he'd fill it up before I go to bed and then he'd come up again. He'd go get it at 2:00 and refill it every night. So neither one of us were sleeping. And then you add 3 kids and I couldn't drive because I was on painkillers. So he's having to drive Lucas to hockey tournaments and Owen to basketball. And I'm just sitting there like a, you know, passenger princess this whole time. And I'm frustrated because I can't do anything. And then we also had a travel tournament for hockey for Lucas in the mix. So he's having to pack for everybody. Like I couldn't even pack myself. I just had to sit there and be like, I want that and I want that. And then he had to load everything up and he had to carry everything in and out of the ice arenas and with all 3 kids. And oh, and this was the great part. When we got to the hotel in Vernal, their elevator didn't work the entire time we were there, and we were on the 3rd floor. So he had to carry all of the luggage up the stairs, and every time we got back and had to carry that big hockey bag for my son all the way up and down the stairs, and I couldn't help. He had to carry Becca. Like I felt so bad for him because I couldn't do anything.
He's a hero.
Like, oh God, yes. I mean,
Mike,
love you, Mike.
I
love you, babe.
And anyone, and like I think when it comes to recovery, I know, it takes like a village, or it takes a team.
Oh my gosh.
Like you have to have your recovery team helping you out, and it just takes a toll on everyone involved, unfortunately. And that's
my mother-in-law is a saint. She, with my ankle surgery, because it was so close after Becca was born. It was 4 weeks after Becca was born. So not only could I not move because I just had a baby, but also I couldn't walk because I had ankle surgery. And my mother-in-law was over at our house every day, like cleaning, taking care of Becca, doing all these things because I couldn't walk.
And like, I think the worst part about all of it is like, at least for the person that's injured, is like you're going through this injury and you already feel terrible and like you're kind of depressed and stuff. And then you're watching these people do stuff for you, and then it makes you feel even worse. And it's like, you shouldn't feel that way because it's like they understand that you need help. And like, but it's like, I can't help it. And it's you can't either. It's like, I just feel terrible. Like I feel worse now. I feel useless. And like, I feel really bad because I can't do a damn thing. And like, I'm watching you do all this work for me. And normally I'd be the one either doing the work or helping out. Yeah. And it's just like, man, I just feel awful. So it's like, the mental toll that recovering from injury takes on an athlete in general. It's like, you know, I think there's like common cycles, and unfortunately I've had like 7 surgeries. And so CJ, my business partner, he's been on the podcast before. He tells me, he's like, maybe this is your calling in life, is to, you know, get injured and show people that you can recover. You can still work out through injury, number 1, which you can, absolutely. You can, absolutely. Number 2 is that you can like fully recover, and, you know, that you don't use injury as an excuse to stop exercising or to stop trying to make progress. And I was like, well, whether or not that's my calling, I don't like it. And it's wildly uncomfortable because I am a human. This is what I was going for. I have the same emotions everyone else has, and the same temptations, desires, and struggles. And I would say, like, usually recovering from surgery, like the first stage that I go through is like, and I don't know if you're the same, is kind of like denial, like where it's like, or like a lack of realization. It's almost like for the first week or so, it's almost, you haven't acknowledged or accepted. I mean, maybe it's acceptance, like what has actually happened. It's kind of just like everything's kind of going fast. You're injured. You're having doctor's visits. You might have to have surgery. It's just like, oh, what the hell? Yeah, it's quick. And then, you know, before you know it, like a few days to a week has passed, especially like after the surgery. And then that's kind of when it starts to set in. Like, this is happening. Like, this is happening to you, or it's just happening. And like, this is going to be a process. And you're like, okay, so like, there's that first stage, at least for me, that's kind of like lack of acceptance, or just kind of like I haven't fully accepted or felt the gravity of the situation. We've kind of just been going through the steps. Then all of a sudden it just comes at once, you feel it. And then for me, the next like stage is like depression. And it's like, I try to fight it and I know it's coming because I've been through it enough, and I'm like, oh, it's coming. And every time it comes, and it's just like, I'll even be in the middle of it, like, man, I'm just not doing great mentally. And like,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to get out of it, especially when you're someone that's like, like, how do you normally get yourself like de-stress and stuff?
Right?
Like, well, I go work
I go
out,
to
or
the
I go
gym,
play sports,
I go
or
move,
I go do something with my body.
At
And
least
like,
go do on a walk if I have to. Like, I do something to move. But when you're in that situation and you don't have your outlet, like, then what do you do? Right? Like, how do you get there? Like, because I know for, my, one of my ankle surgeries, it was my driving foot. So it's like, I needed somebody to actually drive me to the gym because for the first couple weeks, I couldn't drive. And so it was kind of, I couldn't just go on walks because I couldn't walk, and I couldn't get myself to the gym to try to do anything else. I mean, thank God we had an at-home gym, so I was able to at least get out and do something. But if I wouldn't have had that, I mean, how do you function? It's hard.
Yeah, it's
not easy.
Well, like I said, it takes a team of people, and then like not only that, but when you can't drive yourself or anything, like now you're on someone else's schedule, but then you feel bad asking.
Yeah.
And you're just like, can you take me? I know you're busy. Can you take me here? Can you pick me up?
Please.
And then you're just like, it shouldn't feel bad.
It's more the
but, like,
things that they're doing for you. It feels like, like it just adds.
Yeah, it just becomes a lot. But throughout all that being said, and like I don't want to like whatever, but like I'm always like, I tell my wife I understand it's hard, but I would trade these places in a heartbeat because you're doing a lot of extra work and it's mentally tolling and stuff. But like me, this is just me personally, to like not be injured, I'd rather take the extra work and stress than to have the injury. But and I think part of the hard part for your spouse too is I'm sure for mine too, is like they feel very sad or emotional watching you go through it. And so I know that's hard because I know watching my wife in pain is hard. Like when she was towards the end of her pregnancy, when you're just so uncomfortable that you can't really do anything.
But there's
I felt terrible. And she's just like, oh, like this is uncomfortable, it hurts. I'm like, can I do anything? She's like, no. I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I felt terrible. So like, everyone goes through it.
Yeah.
But the second stage, like usually I'll have the depression. And then usually after that, I'm kind of moping around for a little or whatever. I try to keep, a smiley face when other people are around, but it's hard. I would say usually after that, after the acceptance, depression, then there starts to get a stage of like hope, I feel like, where it's like, usually for me, it's like when you're cleared to start doing some actual PT exercises on your hurt appendage or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you let it heal enough and then it's like, all right, now we can start kind of chipping away at like, let's re-strengthen the joint or the ligament or whatever. And then it's like, okay, like I feel like now we're starting, like for me personally, mentally, and I know this isn't true, it's like, when you're first recovering from your injury, usually you're not allowed to move that appendage or joint for a certain amount of time. It could be a month, could be a couple months. With my Achilles, it was like 3, I feel like. And once you can start moving it again, even though it's tiny, it's just like, okay, like now I think we're seeing the light at the end of this tunnel. I'm starting my PT, and we actually have a regiment that's like, hey, here's kind of where we should be week by week. And it advances, and you're like, okay, cool. And like that I can live with and I can do. And then, beyond that, it's more perseverance after that with the hope. It's like, okay, now it's like, it's kind of slow moving for a lot of the recoveries. And so like, don't get discouraged if you're like, you have a PT session or 2 or like a week, you don't see the progress you want, or this is the one that I feel like maybe, you don't get prepared enough for if you haven't been through it. Is like, there are slight regressions sometimes where it's like, one day it feels great.
Progress isn't linear.
Yeah. And then the next day or the next couple days, you're like, damn, I feel like I am taking steps backwards, or like I've like re-injured. That's always the fear of re-injury when you're recovering. I've re-injured my thing again, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would say, for at least for me, I'm pretty similar as far as the emotions that I go through in an injury. But when you start getting to that point, when you're in that point where you're doing PT, but you're not at the point that you can actually start doing things to your normal capabilities or intensity, I find that to be the hardest, in my opinion, mentally, at least for me, because it's like I am so stinking close to being able to work on things that I haven't been able to do in months or maybe even a year. Like, and I want to do it. And some days you have the ability to sit there and think, okay, I know that I shouldn't do this. You have the wisdom to say, pull back. It's okay. You're almost there. Don't do it now. Don't jump ahead. Don't skip steps. Other days, it really is infuriating. And it's like, I don't understand. It has been months. All I want to do is work on X, Y, or Z and get back to where I am. And, those days are days I leave the gym. They're not my greatest scores or performances. I feel terrible. And it's all about how you're framing it that day. But like when you're getting to that point where you're close enough that you can, you know, you're in PT, you're moving your joints, and like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, am I ever going to get there though?
Yeah.
Like that, for me anyway, that's probably one of the hardest stages mentally.
Yeah, that
for
is
me.
a really hard stage too. It's
Yeah.
like you're like almost there, but not quite.
Not there
and like,
yet. Yep.
And that's usually where I think we'd see like re-injury and stuff is
Yeah.
because it's like, especially if you grew up being an athlete or playing a sport, maybe you're dealing with your first injury or something, and it's like you're really just used to one intensity.
Yeah.
And like usually it's pretty high. And it's like when I'm playing my sport or when I'm training, intensity is pretty high. And it's like if that's all you're used to and you're going through your first injury, or maybe, you know, it's hard regardless how many injuries you've been through. I don't care how many you've been through. It's always hard. And like
they don't get easier.
You just
I think you just gain more wisdom.
Yeah, you mentally know what to expect, but it's like I know I'm going to go through a state of depression. It's not that I won't. It's just I know it's coming.
It's
okay,
coming.
I know this. I know the PT is going to take a while. Blah blah. I know if I have a bad day, it doesn't mean that I'm not making progress. Like that type.
Well,
that you get that security, but it's still like almost just as hard.
And I think if you don't admit what's coming, it's even harder.
Yeah.
If you let it take you by surprise, if you aren't willing to accept what's coming,
yeah,
it's a lot harder to move on from it. You get into a deeper, darker hole. If you're willing to accept, okay, I know I'm going to go through this stage, and you're like, it is what it is. I'm human. I have emotions. This is where I'm going to be at this time.
Yeah.
Then I think it's easier when you are through it. You're like, okay, especially when we've had experience with multiple injuries, you're like, okay, you've been through this last time. You know the light's coming. Just keep going. Be patient, and you'll get there.
Yeah. And like that level of kind of anticipating does help. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think the hardest part is when you're not ready for it mentally. Maybe it's your first time, or maybe you had a complication that just wasn't expected. This was my last surgery about 3 months ago. This has been the worst recovery I've ever had, ever. And I've had shoulder surgery, 2 wrist surgeries, back surgery, Achilles surgery, a full repair on my Achilles. And I had a knee scope done 3 months ago. It was elective. And it was supposed to be easy. They didn't like fix anything. They just took out a bunch of little pieces of cartilage or whatever. But I had a complication, and I wasn't mentally prepared for that. Even though that's a risk you take with surgery or intervention, it's like there could be a complication. But after all the successful ones I had, I was just like, it wasn't even really in my mind.
Yeah.
And I ended up having a complication where my knee kept swelling with blood, and I couldn't move it. It hurt so bad. I had to go to the ER. I've never been to the ER after surgery. I had to go to the ER. Like it hurt for like a month straight. I had to get it drained of blood 8 times.
Oh my Lord.
I had a second surgery to try to stop the bleeding. They couldn't stop it. And that has been the worst thing I've been through in my life. And like I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't mentally prepared for what that was going to be like, how hard it was going to be. And then also the unknown of like my doctor didn't know what was happening. Didn't know why I was bleeding, didn't know where it was coming from, didn't know how long it was going to bleed or when it was going to stop. And like, and that unknown was just like, first of all, not being prepared to go through that, because I was supposed to be walking by like the next day, like weight bearing and stuff. And I didn't weight bear for almost a month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was rough. And just not being ready for that really mentally took the biggest toll. And then I'll add on to it, I was in so much pain I couldn't sleep. That took a huge toll on me and my wife, and like, man, that was rough. But it was supposed to be this like easy surgery, the smallest one I've had, quote unquote, and it ended up being the worst recovery I've been through so far. Not time wise, but just that period of just not being prepared mentally of what I was going to go through, and then also just kind of the unknown of like, when is this going to get better? Like, when am I going to start to see the light at the end of this tunnel? And luckily, we're 3 months out, and I'd say we're about 85-ish%, 90% better. So it is getting better.
So you're really close. Yeah.
Thank God. Oh man, but it was really rough. But you know, beyond that, we're still recovering here. My Achilles, I ruptured it about 14 months ago, I want to say, and I've been recovering from that, and that's been my longest recovery to date. Okay. It still doesn't feel doesn't feel the same, and it feels like tight. Range of motion isn't 100%. Strength of just doing a single leg calf raise is not 100%. But I feel like making progress. I'm still working on it. And that one is kind of expected. I don't know if that's ever going to feel the same again. I'm confident with the way my knee's been progressing, it probably will. Hopefully it'll feel better than it did before. But I'd say, like, out of all your surgeries and injuries, doing your diligence of, you know, if they're longer than a year or 2 ago, would you say most of them, doing your regimen, your PT, all that stuff, you've gotten them to recover like 100%?
Yes, most of them, yes. The only one that didn't is my last ankle surgery. Like I said, I'm 3 years out, and it's still not feeling good. I mean, I think we figured out why. We found that there is another tear in there. that never got fixed. And so it's hard to tell because it's a small one. So it's like, okay, how much is this really going to be an issue?
Yeah.
But it's never felt the same. It's still tight. There are still movements that, like, unless I'm going to do a competition, I don't do anymore. Like I don't do double unders, because if I know, I have the wisdom anymore that if I do double unders in a workout, I'm not going to be able to get back in the gym the next week.
Yeah.
Because it's so sore. It takes a number of days for that to feel better. I can't. So it's like, okay, well, I can do things still to get my heart rate up, to still get the stimulus I need out of my workout that don't require me doing double unders. Now, if I'm doing a competition and I need to do them, I'll deal with it. But it's like, if I'm doing every day and I'm trying to, get back to where I want to be, that's just a movement that just is not in the cards, So I think some of it is, that's my ankle is my last ankle surgery is the only one that I have had so far that I can say has ever hit, like, where my joint has not felt the same. Now, my shoulder surgery, I'm almost 8 months out now.
And that's relative for a shoulder. That's still pretty new.
It's still pretty new, but they did have to move my bicep from where it normally locates down low. You've had that surgery.
They did that to mine too.
Hey.
But that was way longer ago. I dislocated snowboarding. And after doing the PT and everything, my shoulder, this one feels, like you said, it feels better than the other one.
That's awesome to hear.
And range of motion's better. Everything's better. It's more stable. It's just like, nothing's wrong with my other shoulder, but I sleep on this side. So it gets a little kind of like just annoyed or whatever. And like, but I can still do everything. And then the surgery shoulder feels better. Like, it feels stable. It just feels better. Like,
mine just feels, I'm still at the stage where it's uncomfortable. Like, because I haven't done a lot of things. Like I just did like I haven't done toes to bar, but I did kipping leg raises in the workout for the first time since before surgery this week. And I was sore all day, but I woke up the next day and I felt great. But it still feels weird and uncomfortable because my pole is in a different place. And mentally there is some like rewiring that needs to be done, that this is, to feel it here is okay. That's where I should be feeling it. And so I can't say, it still just feels funny.
That's still new. I'd say mine probably until it felt like 100% or even better than my other shoulder was like a year or more.
That's what I'm expecting.
And it's like, being diligent, doing your PT exercises, strengthening the joint, the ligaments. And like, I'm under the house that
really good warm up.
My first surgery ever was my wrist. And I remember my doctor telling me I'd never be able to lift overhead as much as I could again in my life. He's like, you'll never be able to do that again. And then, maybe it's being stubborn or whatever, but I did a lot of PT and just a lot of exercising, strengthening. And like, I can do more weight now, before this dang knee thing, but I can do more weight after the surgery than I'd ever done before.
My first wrist surgery was the same way. My doctor told me I'd never be able to do burpees again, and push-ups I'd always have to do with a dumbbell.
I see you do those all the time.
I mean, not that I want to do burpees all the time, but,
so you're telling me
I've been doing it. Like, and my wrist doesn't bother me.
What you're telling me is like doctors don't know everything.
They don't. No.
Well, I think what it is with them is they try to prepare their patients for like worst case scenario. So then it's like, oh, it got better, cool. They're like, good. But like, in case you never get that ability back, it's like, well, we kind of expected this, right? That's what he said.
They also don't see a lot of, the one thing I always get from my surgeons is like, they don't love me walking in the door because it means I'm hurt. But at the same time, like, they always know that because I'm an athlete, because I want to be in the gym, because I have goals, like, I'm going to do my PT. My recovery is going to be good. I'm not just going to go sit on the couch. Like, they're confident. So they give me worst case scenario, but they do also tell me, hey, like, but this, I'm also like, you are like 1% of my patient population, so there's a little bit of I think sometimes they have to reframe for athletes.
When you're athletic and you like to move and you're committed to recovering and getting your body to feel good again, it's like you're like a breath of fresh air for your surgeons and doctors, because they're like, oh, you're actually going to do really well. But it's like, I had a friend that had the same shoulder surgery as I did. This was before I ever had mine, and so I didn't have a frame of reference. I didn't know, and it was literally a year after surgery, and this person could barely lift their hand higher than their head.
Oh, geez.
And like, so I just thought that's how it was. I was like, damn. I was like, I don't want to have that shoulder surgery. I had the same one, and literally within 6 months, I was able to like full range of motion. So, what it comes down to is, doing your PT exercises, being diligent. I don't just do PT at the doctor's office.
No, you got to do it.
I would do it 2 or 3 times a day. Yeah. Like, because once I get cleared, like, that's all I'm doing. It's like, I don't know if you can do too much PT, but I'm doing a lot of it.
I don't know that you can, but
because we have goals, and like, my goal is to get back to moving the way I want to move.
Yeah.
And like, And so it's like, if they tell me, hey, you got to do this, you need to do it at least once or twice a day, and that'll get you back to where you're going. Like, all right, say less. Like, that's what we're going to do. And, you know, and like I said, like once you start doing your PT, that's where I feel like I see the light at the end of that tunnel. That's like, okay, like now we can start to re-strengthen, remove this. So hopefully we can get it back to 100%. So like, you know, I've gotten my shoulder back to 100%. My back, I had a micro discectomy. That's 100%, if not like better. Back feels good. Wrist, you know, feels good. These two, Achilles is still relatively like fresh for the Achilles. So I don't know, maybe that'll never feel the same for the rest of my life, but I can.
You still have time.
After my Achilles surgery, I've been able to run, sprint, jump, like do all of that. It just doesn't feel the same, and it's tight. And then my knee, we're still pretty fresh for that, so we'll see. But I'd say about 85%. So
you're almost there.
Able to squat to full depth, and I did a running workout outside yesterday, so we're coming along. We're making moves, but there was a process of recovery and PT and all that. And I think like what I'm getting at, and Sarah can attest to this, is first of all, it's kind of like if you think you can, you probably will be able to. It's the old saying, and you know, if you think you can, you're probably right. If you think you can't, you're probably right. So if you're committed mentally to like getting back to 100%, I think there's little that's going to stop you from doing that.
Yeah.
But it's about the commitment to it. And then, you know, if you stay dedicated to the process and don't skip steps, and you actually do all your PT and recovery, it's like talking to Sarah and other people I've talked to that have been through similar things. We have another member in here that ruptured her Achilles like 2-ish years ago. She's back to running and jumping and all that stuff. But if you're dedicated to the process, you can absolutely get back to, number one, doing what you love. Number two, 100%. Number three, the sport you love. Yeah. And like, that's an absolute reality that I think maybe the first time we get injured, or even sometimes when it happens again, God forbid, no more. That,
done.
You know, it's that kind of the first stage for me, doom and gloom, like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do anything. It's like, it's just being dramatic and emotional.
Yeah. You're not going to get anywhere with that attitude.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You're just going to be stuck.
Yeah. And I know that too, but like, it's hard. I'll have a short phase of that.
Well, we all go through it. Every injury, like, you go through it.
It's like mine after the past couple, it's just like, why is this happening again? Like, been through this enough. Like, fudge. It's like, oh, it's your calling in life. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
This
like,
isn't the one I wanted.
I hate this. But we go through it, we recover, and then we got a good story to tell. And what has really helped me as a coach is the amount of exercises and modifications I have in my toolbox from me personally having to do them. So whenever I have anyone that has any type of tweak or anything, and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, I'm like, perfect. I got a lot of exercises you can do because I've been through this.
I've had to learn.
Like, I've literally had to work out with one, like only using one leg, only using one arm, like, or no arms, or like, so like, hey, you can do it. And I think
you get creative too. Like when you've had enough injuries and you're probably trying to help somebody. I especially with my shoulder surgery, this last one, like I found so many more ways to still get some good intensity, build some strength back, but not go at the intensity or do something that's prescribed. Like I you know, that's the one thing that injuries have always done, is they've helped my ability to coach and help somebody else scale. Whether it's for injury or other things, I think it just helps.
Like, there is that silver lining, right? Like, there are positive things that come out of injury and recovering from injury, and that's just one of them. I think mental toughness is another one. Empathy is a huge one, and you know, movement quality is another big one, because going through PT, you are forced to move in a way that reinforces good movement patterns. And you know, whether you were doing it before or not, it just really helps you focus. After my back surgery, I learned to squat better because, you know, I was focused more on it, and that's kind of how I tweaked my back, with squatting. So you know, you learn to squat better, then all of a sudden squatting feels better. I'm able to squat higher weight, higher volume of squats, and I'm like, oh wow, and like, it just feels better. So like, that's the silver lining. We're going to try to wrap up because we don't want to take too long. We're not doing super long podcasts like Joe Rogan. I listened to one of his podcasts the other day. It was like 3.5 hours long, and it was great. It was a great listen. But it took me like 2 weeks to listen to the damn things. You know, most minutes aren't terribly long. But last thing I wanted to say is, I feel like personally, I don't know if you feel this way, maybe, but like with all of my injuries except for one that have required surgery, and getting re-injured, which thank God hasn't really happened to me, but I feel that this is the reason, is I think most of them, except for the one, it was my Achilles, is the one that I don't think was preventable. It just, there was no indicator. It wasn't sore, nothing. It just happened.
It's the way it usually happens with
the way all my injuries have been. If I look back and really be honest with myself, and I think this is the same with re-injury, is it's come down to like for me personally, they were preventable is I think what I'm getting at. And
Yeah.
like, it's like ego for me. Because, when my wrist that was a true accident. So was my Achilles. So let's get those, but let's talk about the other one. So like my back was not feeling great one day, and it was really sore and tired. And I just decided to do my percentages anyways, which were high.
Yeah.
And I just kind of forced it. And I was like, oh, I should be able to. I ended up tweaking my back. And I should have listened to my body and been like, my back's hurting. Or it's really tired and sore. I should just take it easy or even take the day off. And then when I finally hurt it really bad, it's, of course, the day before I did a bunch of like back stuff, deadlifts, hip extensions. I was shoveling heavy snow. The next day, my back felt really tender. I was like, it's okay. I'm going to work out. It's fine. And then I ended up tweaking my back. So in my opinion, that's absolutely preventable. And the last one, let's see here, Achilles, no. Knee, that was elective. Oh, shoulder. Sorry. So shoulder surgery. I went through the terrain park snowboarding, and it was my first time going through. I didn't look at the features. And one of the features was something I wasn't prepared for. It was a feature that was different than what I thought it was. On the approach, it looked like just a little tube going like side to side. And I was like, oh, I'll just go up and like tap it and do a little spin. And no, there was actually a rail going down also. And I wasn't prepared for that rail going down because I didn't see it. And that was my fault. I should have went through one time to look at all the features. Sure. That's smart.
Yeah.
And then be like, okay, here's what this feature is. This one is okay. And then you make a game plan. Okay, cool. Let's go down. So like that was absolutely preventable.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I think re-injuries like that, we get ego, we skip steps. We're like, oh, I should be able to, and then we end up re-injuring or whatever. Or we're just being impatient. I don't know if you have any of those.
I mean, so my shoulder is one that was preventable. This one, I really do think so. I did my shoulder. Shortly after I took some time off with a medical issue that my son had. I had been away from the gym for a while to take care of him. And when I came back with an ego. I was like, okay, I've had time off, but like, I should still be able to do what I did, 2 months ago. And you don't account for it. And, there were a lot of other factors. It is a long time. I came back, I was like, I know the first couple of weeks, I was like, okay, I need to build back up to it. It's fine. But once I got back into it and I started getting my intensity back up, it was like, oh, well, I left being able to do X amount of pull-ups or X amount of toes to bar, those kinds of things. So I was like, well, now I've been back in the gym for 2 weeks. My intensity is where it needs to be. Like, I should be able to do all this again. I should be able to lift, do my snatch at the same weight and all that other stuff. And it was, oh, well, I need to start seeing my name on the RX leaderboard. Like that's, stupid stuff like that. We've
all been there.
We've all done it.
I still struggle with it where I have to check myself.
Yeah, right. You have to step back for a second. Dude, this isn't worth it. It's okay. It's just not a big deal. But anyway, what ended up happening is I had a day where we were doing kipping pull-ups in the workout, and I warmed up, and I was like, God, my shoulder just it feels funny today. And I was like, it's fine. It'll loosen up during the workout. Did the pull-ups in the workout, went home, and I was like, oh, I did not feel good. Next day, or it was like the next week, we started Murph prep, I think is what we were doing. And I did the pull-ups that day, and I was like, God, it still doesn't feel good. Okay, no big deal. I'm just going to go to ring rows during Murph prep. Like, I'm going to build up strength doing ring rows. I'm going to try to make sure that I'm making them more difficult, whatever I need to do to continue to build strength, but just doing ring rows, not doing any kipping movements. Did that. Well, then the day of Murph came, and I was like, well, I've been doing all of this strength building. I can do all these pull-ups. So I did all the RX pull-ups, not with a weight vest, but I did them, and I was super proud, but then I couldn't lift like 2 pounds.
Ugh.
And it was that I can pinpoint that's exactly when my shoulder problem started happening before Murph, but it was because I did not properly work my way back because my ego got in the way when I had to take some time off. And then I kept letting it get in the way. And so that was totally preventable. I had an ego thing. So now after breaking my foot while I was rehabbing my shoulder, I've been much more in tune to do it the right way. Don't rush it. Don't let your ego
listen to your body.
Listen to your body. I mean, like yesterday, it's like, well, crap, I can run now, but I'm not going to go out there and go do all 200 meters for, all 5 rounds. Like, we're going to cut this in half and we're going to try. And I was sore yesterday, but my foot feels great today. So it's like, okay, I can start incrementally like adding running back in and things like that. So, I've definitely had that's probably my most preventable injury, that it was like, I just let things snowball in my head and it didn't end well.
Yeah. And like, whether or not injury is preventable, some of them just aren't. They just happen.
They happen.
And it is what it is. But like, I think at the end of the day, like all I'm getting at, and all probably Sarah's getting at is like, number one, like try to check your ego, because that can cause you to
Doesn't
either
do
get
you any
injured,
good.
to get re-injured. So that's always a big one. Even with people that are perfectly healthy, you know, that ego. If you come in and you're like, your back's feeling really sore and tired or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's a heavy deadlift day, I should be able to do 300 pounds or whatever, 400 pounds, and you don't feel good, and you're like, it doesn't matter, and you force it, that's an ego. You can hurt yourself. Same thing recovering from injury, or, you know, I haven't done this for a while, but I should be able to do this. That's an ego. And like, that's where we see injury. And then re-injuries, like, oh, you know, I've been recovering long enough, I should be able to run 200 meters in a workout, like, fine. And then, oh crap, I re-injured myself. And like, so that's an ego. So it's like, really, like, number one, look out for your ego.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Check it at the door.
Number two, listen to your body. If it's like overly sore, tired, take it easy, or take a rest day, a couple rest days, until it starts to feel a little better.
Feel like you need to do something. Yeah.
Like 2 injuries I've had, and those were both my back run. Both times my back didn't like feel great going into it. It didn't hurt, but it was sore and tired, and like enough that I thought about it, and I still remember it. And like, so it's like, okay, that was, if I would have been smarter about it, I could have prevented those, or at least prevented them at that time. And then the next thing is like recovering from injury. So injury, unfortunately in sports, injury is almost unpreventable. If you play sports or are active long enough, it's just going to happen. My sister broke her foot walking down the stairs. So it's like, if you're active, injury's a risk. And the longer you do something, the higher that risk goes. So it's like, is injury going to happen if you're active or playing sports long enough? Probably. Not everyone, but probably. And so when you're recovering, number one, try to keep an optimistic mindset.
But realistic, also be real about what you're facing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Be realistic about what you are facing, what the time frame is going to be. You know, kind of talk to your team, your healthcare team, or your team about like what to expect time-wise and mentally. And then for me, it's like, always just be thriving to get back to 100%. And whether or not you get back to 100%, whether it's 100% range of motion, 100% strength, even just 100% feeling good. Because I would say, you know, the Achilles has gotten to a point where it's like, it's getting there, but it just doesn't feel great. And so just don't lose the desire to get it feeling 100%. And if you continue to work at it, I'm pretty confident that it can get back to 100%. And I've just seen that happen with the hard work and the time with everything else. So I'm going to continue to work on my Achilles. I'm going to continue to work on my knee, which is pretty new. And I think Sarah's going to continue to work on her ankle and her shoulder. And who knows, maybe we'll have another one of these in like a year or two, and no more injuries, and we can be like, yes, we continue to work on them, and we feel great.
And we're awesome. We're doing all the things we want to do.
You know, but that's going to be a task in itself, because I know you're active. I love to do CrossFit, weightlifting. I still snowboard. I play ice hockey, indoor soccer.
Yeah.
It's a risk. And so it's like, you know, when these injuries happen, it's just like, well, I don't like it, and it's not what I wish, but I'm also a very active person, and I just understand that that's part of the risk of being active.
It is. Yeah, I mean, totally agree.
The most dangerous thing we do on it, if somebody's out there like, well, why do you take that risk? It's like, well, you know what the highest risk thing everyone does almost every day?
Sit on the couch. Doing nothing.
Yeah, doing nothing is so bad for you. Being sedentary, you're going to end up with chronic disease or something like that. But also the other one's driving your car. Super high risk of injury, because everyone I know, if you've been driving long enough, has all been in an accident. Have you been in a car accident?
No.
That's a miracle.
I've been in one.
Usually everyone I ask this question to is like,
don't jinx me
no,
now.
No, sorry.
Oh my God.
But it's like, you know, and whether or not they're bad, but it's just, that's a risky thing. It's actually a really high risk relative to the population. It's like, there's a great chance in your lifetime you're going to get in a car accident, whether it's a fender bender or, God forbid, a bigger one. And it's like, does that stop you from driving? It's like, no. Well, sports are the same way. Hey, there's a risk you're going to get injured. Hopefully you don't, but that risk is there for everyone. Like, you know, even your GOATs, like, you know, Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles. Peyton Manning had his neck thing and his surgery, and like, you know,
Jokic has been dealing with his stuff this year. Like, you know,
and they're diligent, and they come back and they still perform really well most of the time.
And you can do the same thing too. So, everybody can.
So if you're recovering from injury, or maybe you haven't, or you know someone going through it, you know, stay optimistic, do your due diligence, take your time, do your PT, try to stay positive, and sky's the limit when recovering from injury.
Yep.
That's all we got. It was a little less than an hour. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, we're going to get off the couch. Y'all should do the same and go be active. And, you know, hey, take some risk. You'll be all right.